Welcome to Defense Briefing. The content of the briefing includes Joseph Nye, you can coerce by economic means. Mad over Russian billions? Tax, don't confiscate. China chip imports suffer steepest drop on record after U.S. curbs. Houthis fire missile at U.S. warship in first attack after Yemen strikes. Xi Mingtai, Taiwan activist who pushed for democracy, dies at 83. Joseph Nye, you can coerce by economic means. Financial Times. Joseph Nye, the influential thinker in international relations who coined the term soft power, argues that the current volatility in the US and at Harvard is part of a cyclical pattern in politics. Nye compares the current situation to the 1960s, which he believes was a worse period with major assassinations, cities on fire, and failed presidencies. He acknowledges the challenges facing Harvard today but points out that the turmoil in the 1960s was far more severe, with bombings and attacks on the university. Nye also expresses concern about billionaires attempting to micromanage universities and the dangers of banning certain groups, but he believes these problems are more solvable than violence and bombings. Nye discusses the concept of soft power and its role in international relations. He argues that soft power is important but plays an auxiliary role to hard power. He cites the example of Ukrainian President Zelensky, who effectively used soft power to garner sympathy and support, which later translated into hard power in the form of military equipment shipments. Nye also addresses the US-China relationship, stating that the US should neither underestimate nor overestimate China as a threat. He believes that war between the two countries is not probable and emphasizes the importance of soft power in shaping perceptions. In terms of US foreign policy, Nye gives a guarded optimism about the fallout from a possible second Trump term. He believes that the U.S. has enough resilience in its institutions and civil society to recover from any challenges. Nye also discusses President Biden's foreign policy and argues that while it has been sensible and firm, it is weak on the economic leg. He gives Biden's foreign policy a grade of B or B+, but believes that Biden made a mistake by running for re-election at his age. Nye also weighs in on the recent controversies at Harvard, including the resignation of President Claudine Gay and allegations of plagiarism, expressing his concerns about double standards and the need for diversity and inclusion to be treated as a norm rather than a bureaucracy. Mad over Russian billions? Tax, don't confiscate. Bloomberg. The White House is supporting legislation that would allow it to seize around $300 billion of frozen Russian assets to help pay for Ukraine's reconstruction. Approximately $200 billion of these assets are located in Europe, putting the US's European allies under pressure. However, this move carries legal, economic and geopolitical risks that have led to concerns from Europeans. As an alternative, Bloomberg suggests that taxing the exceptional profits generated by these assets may be a less controversial option. China chip imports suffer steepest drop on record after US curbs. Bloomberg. China's chip imports experienced their largest decline on record in 2023, with the value falling 15.4% to $349.4 billion. This marks the second consecutive year of decline for Chinese chip imports. The drop is attributed to economic uncertainties and U.S. export controls. The global chip industry has been struggling to recover, with Chinese demand particularly affected by COVID restrictions and a slow post-pandemic recovery. The U.S. administration's restrictions on China's access to cutting-edge semiconductors have further impacted sentiment. However, there are signs that global chip demand is starting to increase, with semiconductor sales worldwide rising for the first time in over a year in November. Houthis fire missile at U.S. warship in first attack after Yemen strikes. South China Morning Post. Yemen's Houthi rebels fired an anti-ship cruise missile towards an American destroyer in the Red Sea on Sunday, but the missile was shot down by a U.S. fighter jet. This marks the first U.S. acknowledged fire by the Houthis since the U.S. began strikes on the rebels following weeks of attacks on shipping in the region. The Houthis have targeted the crucial corridor linking Asia and the Middle East to the Suez Canal, threatening to widen the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. The U.S. has warned American-flagged vessels to avoid the area for 72 hours. Xi Mingtai, Taiwan activist who pushed for democracy, dies at 83. Associated Press. Xi Mingtai, a former chairman of Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party, has passed away at the age of 83. She was a prominent pro-democracy campaigner, and served 15 years in prison for advocating Taiwan's independence from China. He then spent a further 10 years in jail for his role in the 1980 Kaohsiung incident, which has been seen as a key event leading to the eventual transition of Taiwan to democracy. She later served as the chairman of the Democratic Progressive Party and as a legislator. Stock market today. Asia stocks follow Wall Street higher, while China keeps its key rate unchanged. Associated Press. Asian shares traded higher on January 13, with the Shanghai Composite Index up 0.4% and Tokyo's Nikkei 225 rising 1.1%. This followed the decision by China's central bank to keep its one-year policy loan interest rate at 2.5%, rather than lowering borrowing costs as many had anticipated. The move is expected to increase the chances of a reserve ratio requirement cut next month. U.S. delegation praises Taiwan's democracy after pro-independence presidential candidate wins election. Associated Press. Retired U.S. officials have praised Taiwan's democratic process following the country's recent presidential and parliamentary elections. Former National Security Advisor Stephen Hadley said that Taiwan's democracy has set a shining example for the world. The U.S. remains Taiwan's chief diplomatic ally and source of military hardware and intelligence, despite having cut official diplomatic relations with the island in 1979. North Korea claims test of solid-fuel rocket with hypersonic warhead. Yahoo! North Korea has announced that it is developing long-range missiles with hypersonic warheads. The country successfully tested a medium-range missile with a new solid-fuel drive on Sunday, which was loaded with a maneuverable hypersonic warhead. South Korea condemned the test as a violation of UN resolutions. North Korea has been developing nuclear-capable missiles for years and has also tested hypersonic missiles. The country's missile tests have increased over the past 2 years, leading to growing tensions on the Korean peninsula. Reuters, UK to commit 20,000 military personnel for NATO exercises. Yahoo! The United Kingdom plans to deploy 20,000 military personnel across Europe to participate in major NATO exercises in the first half of 2022. The British military will also provide warships and fighter jets. The largest deployment since the end of the Cold War, the exercises aim to provide reassurance against the Putin menace. The UK recently announced a $3.2 billion military aid package for Ukraine. NATO members have reaffirmed their commitment to bolstering Ukraine's defenses and providing continued military, economic, and humanitarian assistance. Baidu dives most since 2022 after report links AI to China's PLA. Bloomberg. Baidu's stock fell over 10% after a report suggested its Ernie AI platform had been linked to Chinese military research on artificial intelligence, AI. The report by the South China Morning Post stated that the People's Liberation Army's Strategic Support Force had established a physical link with Baidu's Ernie, raising concerns that the U.S. may impose sanctions on the company. However, it is unclear what this alleged link entails, and Baidu has not provided any comment on the matter. Baidu's Ernie platform, which debuted in 2023, has gained popularity and amassed 70 million users within 3 months of its release. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Six reporting from the 6 Degrees World, bringing you the latest news and analysis from around the globe. Today, we discussed a range of topics, from the cyclical nature of politics and the concept of soft power in international relations, to the potential risks of seizing Russian assets and the decline in China's chip imports. We also touched upon the recent missile attack by Yemen's Houthi rebels, the passing of Taiwan democracy activist Xi Mingtai, and the positive performance of Asian stock markets. Lastly, we mentioned North Korea's claims of developing long-range missiles with hypersonic warheads, the UK's commitment to NATO exercises, and the drop in Baidu's stock after reports of its AI platform's alleged link to Chinese military research. Looking at these news stories, it's clear that we live in a complex and interconnected world. The volatility we see today is not new, as history has shown us similar periods of unrest and turmoil. However, it's important to keep things in perspective. While we face challenges, it's crucial to remember that we have overcome more severe crises in the past. Joseph Nye's discussion on soft power reminds us of the importance of shaping perceptions and building relationships in international relations. Soft power alone may not be sufficient, but it plays a crucial role in complementing hard power. As for U.S. foreign policy, there is guarded optimism about the fallout from a possible second Trump term, with resilience in institutions and civil society being key factors. The potential seizure of Russian assets for Ukraine's reconstruction raises legal, economic, and geopolitical risks. As an alternative, Bloomberg suggests taxing the exceptional profits generated by these assets, which may be a less controversial option. Meanwhile, China's chip imports have suffered a steep decline due to economic uncertainties and U.S. export controls. The global chip industry is struggling to recover, and these restrictions have further impacted Chinese demand. In the realm of security, the missile attack by Yemen's Houthi rebels on a U.S. warship highlights the ongoing conflict in the region and the potential for escalation. It's crucial for all parties involved to find a peaceful resolution to avoid further destabilization. Additionally, we mourn the passing of Taiwan democracy activist Xi Mingtai, whose contributions to democracy in Taiwan have left a lasting impact. On the economic front, Asian stock markets have seen positive performance, while the UK plans to deploy military personnel and provide aid to Ukraine as part of NATO exercises. These actions aim to provide reassurance and bolster defenses against potential threats. Lastly, the alleged link between Baidu's AI platform and Chinese military research raises concerns about potential sanctions and further tensions between the US and China. The details of this alleged link remain unclear, and it will be interesting to see how this situation unfolds. As always, I encourage you, our valued viewers, to share your thoughts and questions. What do you make of these news stories? Do you have any insights or opinions to contribute? Let's engage in a lively discussion and continue to explore the fascinating world of global affairs together. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.